So what are we doing this week?
Well, this week we're talking about Annie, Oxford Museums, beach evenings, Cadstock, and questions about the future of Welsh arts.
Sounds like fun. Oh, weary podcast traveller, you've arrived at Pain in the Arts once again with me, Chris, and this over here is this? That's not right, is it?
That
over there is
that thing over there.
We talk about the arts and the creative sector in Wales every week here on Pain in the Arts because you write about it as part of the Edit Wales.
I do indeedy.
And we both live it on a day-to-day basis. And none so other than the last few weeks of our lives.
I lived it thoroughly today, actually. I walked quite a way to go to an exhibition only for the gallery to not be open.
I know, yes. Yeah, you get there and then I get a random phone call saying, no, it's closed.
Yeah, I thought it's a nice day. I could do with getting my steps in early. I will walk there. It took me about 45 minutes to walk there, only for it to not be open because they were setting up another exhibition. But according to Google, they were open today.
I love a bit of Googling, and, well, that's the arts view, isn't it? It's very laissez-faire and very bohemian. It's like, yeah, we're open today, guys. No, we're closed
Yeah, but
today,
they're usually a lot better at telling you when they are and aren't open, when an exhibition is going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is an active exhibition with quite a well-known Welsh artist. You would think that they would have, kept the doors open, especially for a reviewer, but hey, there you go.
It is what it is. I just fancied a nose, to be honest with you, because I hadn't gotten around to seeing it until
Are you going to
now.
go back?
Yeah, I'm going to go back on the weekend.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And if they're not open, I'm going to just boot the door down and go in and have a look.
Anyway, what else have we been up to this week?
So this week, we were at Wales Millennium Centre for Annie.
Yes, so we talked about it a little bit last week because as soon as we recorded this
Sorry,
last
I nearly burst into song then.
Why?
It just overcome me to start screaming tomorrow.
Okay.
I was doing it all night on the way home, wasn't I?
Oh, yeah, it got
When
to
you
the point.
took it a day,
Let's not do
just
that.
grey
Oh my God.
and lonely.
I mean, I will be fair, this house felt a little bit lonely at one point because I thought it was the only sane one here. But yeah, it was really good, to be fair. I mean, I'd never seen Annie before, so it was new for me.
You're not a big fan of theatre shows with kids in, though, are you?
No, and it was very pitchy, I will be fair. The pitch of everyone singing was exceptionally high. Our
I
dogs
suppose it's
could hear
difficult
it.
when you've got kids that do obviously sing in totally different keys to adults.
Yes.
So, there's that, and they've got to all sort of harmoniously sound good together.
Yeah,
So
that
it is
true.
quite difficult. She was incredibly talented, the little girl that played Annie.
Oh, 100%.
Really, really talented.
Really good.
I loved it. And I think Annie is one of those musicals that because there was 3 or 4 films of it that span many generations.
Never seen one.
No, you haven't seen any of them for some reason. Each person has got a different image in their head of who their Annie is, depending on the film that
Right,
they saw.
okay.
So for
Yeah, of
me,
course.
I think it was the 1999 film. It
Yeah.
could have been a little bit earlier than that had Kathy Bates as Miss Hannigan and Alan
showed me a
Cummins
clip.
as her
Yeah.
brother, and really, really good film. Love that film. So I was really excited for it. It was great.
Yeah, well, you 4-starred it.
I did indeed.
And Claire Sweeney shared it.
She did.
On
It was
Instagram
Claire
the other day.
Sweeney playing Miss Hannigan. She was great. I think, who was it that we had come in? Was it Lavoie, the drag queen from Drag Race?
Was just on the way out as Claire Sweeney was on the way in.
Coming in. So she was relatively fresh to the role, although I suppose she's been behind the scenes rehearsing.
Yeah, well, Cardiff was her first date.
Oh, amazing.
And it's been running now, well, as we record this, it's 1.5 weeks in to its 2-week run in the Wales Millennium Centre. So I think it ends this coming Saturday. So depending on when you're watching / listening to this, it's either happening right now or has happened.
Oh, amazing.
So yeah, it's
it was
running for 2 weeks.
a bit of a weird one for me because I've had a couple of people come up to me and say, I've bought tickets for Annie off the back of your review.
Yeah, I've had that a few times.
And do you know what? People, I find it took me a while to get used to the world of being perpetually online and putting stuff out there into the world, because the people who are clearly through the statistics engaging with what you put out there aren't necessarily vocalizing it in comments or sharing things. So you people are viewing the reviews and the writing that you put out there, but you don't always know their thoughts of it, which I always think is really ironic, because a lot of the writing that I put out there is as a response to what I thought of something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the nature of people, really. It took me a while to get get used to it. But for this one in particular, a lot of people have come up to me and said, I've bought a ticket for Annie based off the back of what you've said. And it's kind of made me a bit nervous. It's because I'm like, oh, I hope you really like it then. Now I know that you've gone out of your way to buy a ticket for it.
Can I give you a really random thought on what you just said, though, about that? Which is, I spoke to somebody in the Wales Millennium Centre this week who, she's absolutely lovely. And she said, oh, if I want to find out what's going on in arts news now in Wales, so I used to do this, I used to do that, and I used to just not know what about research and things. And now I just listen to your podcast, or I just watch what you've got online. And first of all, I apologise. And I was like, you must be sick of seeing my face then. She's like, no, but it's brilliant, because otherwise you don't get to find out a concise way of getting this information, because it just doesn't
I think
exist
that's why we
publicly.
did it, really, though, wasn't it? And it was a part of the reason why I wanted to set up the Edit as not just like an online magazine, but also as like a social media platform that people can go to, because it gives you the as up to date as possible. Because not everyone shares press releases as up to date as they should, but that's a totally different question. But it's somewhere where you can go to get the information that is palatable, because I'm not a reports and a research reader. I find it so dry and so dull, and I know a lot of other people in the arts think the same thing too. So, but it just means they're not up to date with what's going on.
But I mean, on the other hand, I love a little report and a statistic and a research analysis. That's kind of my thing. But I'd like to think that I can collate that information, analyze it, and summarize it in a way that is a little bit more palatable for somebody who is a bit of who hasn't got the attention span that lots of other people will have or may have, so that they want to read it in a completely different way. That's why I put it out as an article with the edit, but I also put it out as usually as a face to camera, just with the highlights on Instagram. So that seems to work quite nicely. Well, so far anyway.
It's nice to see that people are using what we're doing. And it was a thought in my head years ago when we were sat in a coffee shop, when I said to you, I'm going to start a magazine in the arts, that it was something that people wanted, because I wanted it. And I thought to myself, if I want it, then I'm sure other people do too.
Why doesn't it exist?
So it's nice to see that it is being used. I think initially when we first started, a lot of people used to be quite confused with what the Edit was, because there was nothing else like it. I think they thought we were another version of a lot of other publications that are in Cardiff and Bristol and things like that, where we go and we review like food like sites and we go to like everything really. It's just a broadcast of what's going on in the city. And I think now people get it. We are arts. We are 100% the arts. We don't care about all that other stuff that goes on. There are publications and platforms out there that go out, research, review, do content for it, and they advertise that to the people of that city, whereas we are solely focused on the arts, big, small, everything in between. That is what we are interested in. And then the politics behind it as well, the business behind it, the commerce behind it. And I think it's nice that people are excited about that.
We can talk about the politics of it a little bit later in the what's coming up side of this, because we do have a very particular and very special interview that we can maybe talk about slightly,
possibly,
which will be our first interview for Pain in the Arts.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. But what else have we been up to first?
You've
got to stick around for that one now.
We went to Oxford, didn't we? Went to the Pitt Rivers.
Yes. I bought that
Museum.
book too. How to Art.
How to Art. You did indeed.
By Kate Bryan.
Was that in Oxford you bought that?
I was indeed. I bought it, and then I started reading it in the park there. While we were eating. It was 36 degrees.
Oh, it was hot, wasn't it? That was the same bookshop that I bought Circe.
Yes,
because I just finished, based off my sister's recommendation, Song of Achilles, which I'm not an emotional person. I have a very limited spectrum of emotions, and I don't usually take myself too seriously. And I'm the type of person who will say something like emotional to someone and then like punctuate it with a joke at the end to sort of lighten the mood. I was bawling my eyes out at the end of that book.
And the woman you spoke to in Blackwell's, when you were buying that book, said the same thing.
Have you read Song of Achilles? And I'm like, yes, that's why I bought Circe, because I loved this one so much and I want to read another book by that writer. So I got that sat upstairs waiting to read. I couldn't decide whether or not I wanted to read Circe before or after I've gone to watch Odyssey, the film.
Yeah, I think we've got...
Because she's featured in that.
We do have our free tickets for View, but View Cinema doesn't exist in Cardiff anymore, so we're going to have to go to Cumbran or Merthyr.
Let's just go to Cineworld, because that's in town.
Yeah,
it's easier to
we
get
can just
to.
walk there, really, couldn't we?
Yeah,
let's just do that. Anyway, what else have we been doing this week?
We were... We went to Pitt Rivers Museum.
We did.
We sort of had a bit of a day of like anthropology, curiosities, and book shopping.
Yes,
we
I
didn't
enjoyed that one.
spend as long as I would normally have liked to have spent in Pitt Rivers, but it was boiling.
Yes, it was 35, 36 degrees outside, and I felt like every one of those degrees was inside as well, except in the gift shop.
Yeah, well, that's where I stayed most of the time, and it worked well for them because I bought stuff there. I bought a really cool mask, didn't I? A clay mask and like a fabric fan that had like a I don't know. It's probably not in shop, but it's just up there above Chris, and it's a little
Yes.
it's from Nepal, so it's like a cultural mask, handmade from Nepal, which I thought was really, really good. The museum's gift shop there, it does have the odd bit like that, but it's not filled with tat like a lot of other museum gift shops are filled with.
It's
where
not
it's just
pencil
mass-produced stuff that they sell it in museums and galleries here. They sell them in Oxford. They sell them everywhere.
Yeah.
But they had a lot of stuff that was made in the country of origin. It was really nice. The fan that I bought was cut up bits of hand-dyed shibori fans,
Which look really cool.
Which were really, really cool. Shibori is a really nice textile practice, which is almost like tie-dye, like a resistance dye. I remember studying that. I did a huge module on that in university, didn't I? Where
You did.
The house was awash with indigo dyed
yes.
fabrics that had lots of different like shibori and those style like resist methods on them. So
You had bluey green fingertips for a long time. I
yeah.
remember that one.
yeah. So yeah, we did that. We did. Yeah, for people who've been to Pitt Rivers, they'll know. But if you haven't, it's you walk in and you're instantly met with the natural history bit, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it's this beautiful Victorian looking building
With a glass roof.
but it's a glass roof, so
Yeah.
it was just like a greenhouse in there. I don't know how those fossils hadn't melted into a puddle,
Honestly,
But
yeah.
then you walk through that. I can't remember what days it's open, but there's a curiosity museum at the back of the Natural History Museum to the left, and there's a door that opens and you go in, and it is filled with the most amazing things from around the world.
But it's one small door, and if you think, oh, I'm not going to go in there, then you would blink and you miss it.
Well, I remember going there once on a school trip. And not, you don't remember things quite right when you're a child. And then I remember years later, me, you and my sister went back there, and I was like, there's a museum in there, there's a curiosity museum, and there's a thing in there that I remember. There's this little silver bottle, and it's supposed to be a witch in a bottle, and someone trapped in a bottle from years ago. I think it's from Wales. And I was in this museum, in the natural history bit, and I'm like, have I gone mad? Was this not here? Was it in a different place? So we went around to the other museum there, and I was like, no, it's not in here either, because this is a modern building. It was a more Victorian-looking building. And
the Ashmolean. No, it was in the natural history, wasn't it?
Yeah. But we thought, oh, maybe it's in the Ashmolean around the corner, and it wasn't. And it turns out it's only open on certain selected days.
Yeah.
So
but if you're going to Oxford, give it a go, because it is a lovely place, and obviously it's free to go in.
Wouldn't rate the Science Museum.
No, well, that was very much went in, had the very quick look around. There was Einstein's blackboard or something like that. That was there,
which we were expecting like a huge blackboard like the size of the doors behind us, but it wasn't. It was a small little one that was like a handheld. Well, not quite handheld.
Yeah, but it would easily fit in a cupboard drawer,
like an A1 piece of paper sort of size.
Yeah,
it was up really, really high, and there was nothing that I could see that, because there was like equations on it. I couldn't see whether or not that was actually his writing.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. When, like I said to you at the time, Goofy signed his autograph in Disneyland for me once. Does that mean anything? Who really signed that? Was it really Einstein? Who knows? Does it matter?
But then on Friday night, we shot on down to Rest Bay in Porthcawl to escape the heat.
Oh, we had to. Yeah, definitely. We didn't get down there till like 7:30, did we?
No, we wanted to go a bit later in the evening, didn't we? And we were joined by my sister, her kids, their dad, Zoe, our friend, and her son Luke. So it was quite Lucas.
Yeah.
Her partner's Luke. It was quite nice. We were all just sort of down there. My sister and Dan had put a tent up that we were sort of sat in and out, and we were going to and from the water. However, I will say at this time of year, the beach is packed with jellyfish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I didn't expect.
Something to do with global warming, clearly.
Well, her one son, Max, really wanted to go into the water, so me and her walked down with him. And as we were getting closer and closer, I could see him reflecting off the sun. And I was thinking, what's that on there? And I was like, oh, it's jellyfish. And we got in there, and her son just didn't care that there were jellyfish in there. I don't even think he acknowledged them. He just wanted to be in the sea because it was warm. And me and her stood there holding his hand, and I can feel these like lumps of jelly just sensually caressing my leg. And it was the most repulsive. Our friend Zoe on the shoreline, who was so excited, bless her, to go in for a swim because she had a really busy day in work. And she's screaming on the shoreline, saying, I'm not coming in, I'm not coming in. Max was dragging us further out.
See, this is why I just don't... I love swimming, but I will not swim in the sea.
See, I prefer the sea over a swimming pool.
No, I love a swimming pool.
Because in a swimming pool, there's this... I just look at every single person and imagine they've all peed in that water.
Yes, as opposed to everything else that you do in the toilet
I know,
is going down and into the sea anyway.
It's a weird rationality in my brain. It's like now, I saw a TikTok about a woman who has a parasite eating her eye because she fell face first in a wheelbarrow and then washed her face in the kitchen sink, and a parasite somehow got into her eye and has eaten her eye. I mean, or because she wears contact lenses when her eyes and her face got wet, and now I'm like, I don't want to wear my contacts anymore.
And the end of that story is tragic, but the start of that story is hysterical.
Yeah, when she fell face first into a wheelbarrow, bless her. Mind you, I think I've done that. But
we
yeah,
got home from there and from Porthcawl, from Rest Bay, and I think we had like 5 or 6 hours sleep or something stupid, and then I was up for Cadstock for the music festival. I was hosting that on the Saturday. That was a long day, a great day. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, you came home with Ozzy Osbourne's one of his rings, didn't you?
Yeah, which is floating around here somewhere. But yeah, well, not the real Ozzy Osbourne, but a very good impersonator, look-alike sort of person, sound-alike most definitely. But the same as when we had like Amy Winehouse as a tribute for Barry Pride, was somebody who was pretty much spot on character, both on stage and off stage. He was like this fantastic...
Well, it was the same as Rayonce for Barry Pride.
Yeah, exactly.
When she came, because the whole time she was on stage speaking, she spoke in like a southern Texas sort of accent. And then when she'd come off stage and she was British with an accent, with a British accent, it was really, I was like, I didn't think because they're so encompassing, aren't they?
He's from Solihull, same as Ozzy Osbourne. So it was just all very like immersive. He was like a method actor to a certain extent. But yeah, that was fantastic. But it was good to have. I mean, apart from that one act, which was a tribute act, every other act there was a local musician, and it's a completely free festival for the full weekend. But hosting that, it takes it out of you, especially because that day was 30. It had to be in the mid 30s temperature wise, and you are there from 11 right the way through till 8 o'clock in the evening. You know, as you and don't get me wrong, it's not like, you know, it's not going down a mine, and you know, but it is difficult because you are very much trying to keep everybody high in terms of energy and enthusiasm while the next act comes on, which can sometimes take up to about 10-15 minutes. So doing that every 45-50 minutes, you know, it takes it out of you at 35 degrees, but I love it at the same time.
Oh, nice. And then last night I was at mine and my sister's, well, we've been friends with Zoe since high school, at her graduation, which was a really nice thing. Me and Laura went to go and like support her there.
Full circle moment.
Up in the, it was in the ICC.
Yeah.
And it was really lovely. Yeah, it was a proper like closing of a circle, because I remember, so she graduated yesterday with a master's of in law. And me and her, we were in high school together, but me and her went to college together as well.
You did?
And
where we met?
Yeah, it was where we met.
Yes.
And that was when she started her career of wanting to be a solicitor. She took A-level law. And at the time, she was pregnant with her son when she did it. And she's had to like defer and things like that, and take, and, you know, just get jobs in different industries because she had a family to support and things like that. But she is qualified, well, is almost qualified now as a solicitor. There's something technical to it, I can't remember what it is, but it's like she's got her master's in legal practice now. But there's a couple of other little bits she needs to do, and then she's a fully fledged out in the world solicitor, and it was a really proud moment to like see her like come full circle. And Zoe has always been a really dedicated person. Like if she says she's going to do something, she's going to do it. So nobody like thought that she would never get to the point where she was a fully qualified solicitor, but it just took her a little bit longer because she just had like life and family and stuff like that get in the way. But because she is such a dedicated person, she has done it. So it was quite nice. It was quite a nice moment.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
That's wonderful. No, it is. It's really fantastic. And there were lots of celebrations going on with lots of universities this week.
Cardiff is awash with caps and gowns.
Yeah, they are everywhere at the moment. But yeah, that pretty much brings us up to date. Yeah.
Yes, I think so. That does. Yeah, that's everything. That's everything we've done this week.
Shall we find out what questions we have?
Let's.
They're coming up after this. Okay, Jack, let's go with question 1 this week.
So question number 1. This directly relates to you and the stuff you're putting out there, which is weird, because I was just saying, like, we don't often get people commenting directly on the things we put out there.
No, they just send a very polite email in if they want to ask a question, which you can do as well. I'll tell you about it later.
You talked about on your Instagram,
right,
about not comparing yourself to others. But in practicality, how can we do that when the creative industry is set up to pit people against each other?
Oh, okay. That's an interesting one.
I do agree with that, actually. I think the creative industries is an odd industry in that sense, because just because you have an exhibition, for example, say you're a visual artist, just because you have an exhibition that is received really well, doesn't mean that is your upward trajectory. So we'll use my friend Zoe as an example. She did her A-levels in law, then she did a degree in law, then she did her masters. She passed the bar. Each time it's a step up the ladder of success, of getting closer and closer and closer to your goal and your career of being a professional solicitor.
Yeah.
But as an artist, you go out there to be in exhibitions. You get accepted for that exhibition. You might not get into another exhibition for a very long time.
Or possibly ever.
Or ever. You do a solo exhibition. That's received really, really well. But then you don't manage to book another space ever again to do it. And you're always, instead of going on an upward trajectory, sometimes you're stepping left, you're stepping right, you're stepping back, you're taking a step backwards. And it's the same in acting. Just because you book a job and that job has gone really well, it doesn't mean you're going to book the next audition.
No, this is very true.
With musicians. Just because you've done a gig or a concert in a local bar or a pub or a venue doesn't mean that it's going to snowball and you're going to keep getting booked. So in that sense, the creative industries is a weird industry in that sense. You've got to get used to the fact that you're not climbing a ladder. That's not always how it works.
No, I think, and just to be clear, I mean, when I put that post out on Instagram, that post was directly reflecting that people feel deflated because they are in a position where they're unavoidably comparing themselves and pitting themselves against people who maybe are working in the same industry but could be working in other parts of the world where the economics are completely different, but they are seeing what other people are achieving and are looking at themselves thinking, well, I'm not achieving this, why am I not achieving
but I
this?
don't think geography really has anything to do with it in a sense, because I think just in general, when you look at the sector, you can see how people, like, where are you saying that is geographically a better place to be a creative?
Well, I mean, for example, you could say that the economics in the Middle East, in places like Dubai, where there's a little bit more finance available or money available, so that you can make larger purchases. Those larger purchases mean that art can be bought for more money.
Yeah, but there will still be artists there that are struggling to have their art bought by that money. Absolutely. So it's a similar concept, and you're always going to look at that artist whose work is selling really well and yours isn't at an exhibition, and you will instantly compare yourself to them and see yourself as a failure.
Yeah, exactly.
Or when you don't book an audition but another actor does, you will see yourself as a failure and compare yourself to them and say, well, what have they done differently to me? And you can almost be deflated, like you said, to a fact where you lose a sense of yourself. And I think a lot of artists have a sort of time like that. I know I did, and I know others that I know personally did, where you're really early on in your career and you have that sort of deflated feel, and you start to almost like subconsciously mimic the successful versions of you, and then you get to a certain point where your sense of self becomes a little bit more instilled in you, and you twig that that's what you've been doing, and you're like, oh, I've lost my own authenticness within my practice, whatever it is, and you snap back into you. And I think that's when you start to see a little bit more success then, because there are so many artists out there who are chasing the same market and doing very similar things. It's the same with actors. There's a lot of actors that are portraying themselves themselves in a very similar way because they're seeing that's what the successful ones are getting. But the breakout ones, the ones who are different, who stand out from the crowd, you've kind of got to predict the trend before the trend happens instead of just following it.
Yeah, but I mean, I will say, going back to the question, I think everyone is always pitted against each other, and that's just the natural cycle of things. I mean, there is only one position available in a job, for instance. There is only one position available for this particular part on a stage. There is only one set of budgets that this household can potentially have to buy that piece of artwork, and someone will get that budget part, piece, whatever it may be. Only one person will get that. The rest of the people won't get that. However, that is, unfortunately, that's life. And I think at the same time as it being just part of life, it's also part of the art world, it's also part of sales, it's part of just the general capitalist economy that we all involve
I think to
ourselves
put
in.
a bit of a capitalist approach on it, like I was saying, yes, to a certain extent, compare yourself to other artists, see what they're doing, or whatever field it is that you're in. Use them as a baseline like any other corporate company would when they're doing competitor analysis. But when, I don't know, Asda are looking into Tesco, for example, they're not saying to themselves, we're going to copy them. They're saying, right, this is what they're doing that's working well. What can we do that's better than that?
Yeah.
So they're not looking to copy or mimic. They're looking to simply like expand and grow what someone else is doing the same as them but better. And I think that's probably a more healthy way as a creative to look at comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
Look and see what the popular people are doing. See what the people who are booking all the auditions and getting paid the actors' work all the time are doing. But then, like I said, try and find a way to invent yourself to be unique, ahead of the curve, ahead of the trends. I think it's always been a really subconscious skill that we have both had. We've been able to semi-predict a trend in business and have that business before it becomes a big thing. And then all of a sudden it seems like lots of other businesses are copying us. They're not. It was just we were slightly ahead of the curve. So I think you just need to see it as an opportunity to compare, but then use it for growth. Find yourself within that and push yourself forward that way. Because that's a healthy comparison then.
And accept that you will always be, to a certain extent, pitted against each other.
Yeah.
But it's the way you choose to frame that in your mind will be the way that you deem success or failure.
Yeah, I know artists who have been told at exhibitions, and I know actors that have been told at auditions as well, act like, oh, do this audition like this actor, and they go, well, no, because I'm not that actor, so I'm not going to act like them. And artists who have been told by galleries, or we're looking for stuff that's more like this artist's work. So if you can produce pieces that are more like this, that sells really well in our gallery. And they go, well, if you like that artist's work, exhibit that artist's work. Don't tell me to change my artwork. And I think you need to have a strong sense of self if you're going to be an artist. And I think if you're going to be an artist, be an artist. Don't allow yourself to be drawn up. And I know people need to make a living. So I'm not saying quit your job and be a full-time artist with the potential of not making any income, but your brain has only got so much capacity, I think, to soak stuff in. So get a job that is just a mundane, run-of-the-mill, you can go in, clock in, do your job, leave, earn a living, and then you've got that capacity left in your brain then to actually focus on art and focus on what it is that you're doing. I think it's when people are they're burnt out, the people who are using the comparison of them and other artists, and they're only seeing the negatives of how they're a failure and the other artist is a success.
Well, hopefully that's helped. What was that? What was the question? What was the person's name?
James.
James, thank you so much. I hope that helped in some way. We will be back with question 2 after this. Rightio, Jack, let's go with question 2.
So question 2 is from Janine.
Hello, Janine.
Do you think Welsh art history should be given more prominence in our cultural establishments? I don't see it referenced as strongly as other countries do, and maybe it would instill more cultural pride.
Oh, that to be fair, I think that's a really, really good point that Janine is making. I have said this for quite a while, that I don't think that we are as proud of a country as some who are more internationally recognized. Like, let's take the Americans. The Americans like love the Irish and love any folklore around the Irish, and the same to a certain extent with Scotland, but they often forget, and we are often forgot about in Wales. And I do think, well, our cultural heritage is huge. It's a big it's the biggest fabric of, like you were saying only a couple of weeks ago about writing, and I'm sure you can touch on that, like fantasy and things like that. But I mean, for me, I'd love to just go to exhibitions and museums where we're seeing, don't get me wrong, we're seeing exhibitions from all across the world, but we're also seeing what's on our doorstep, because I think that instills a sense of pride in the way we choose to define ourselves.
Yeah, and I think art is always a way that, through time, it has been a way of expressing culture, story, identity, and it's something that even if you were from a poorer family that maybe couldn't read and write, there was always a version of an artwork that you could use to pass stories down from generation to generation. And ours is obviously very culturally rich because within the UK, within the British Isles, we are our very clear own identity, the same as Ireland, the same as Scotland. And I think it's one of those things that, unless you live in Wales and you're exposed to it quite a lot, if you were to ask over the bridge, I don't think a lot of people would know.
No.
And this was what I was saying. I think it might have been on the podcast I said it, actually, but the writer Sarah J Maas, who wrote the Court of Thorn and Roses series and all things like that, heavily, as a Welsh person, I read the books, and because I wanted to know what all the fuss was about, because everyone was talking about them. And there was so much Welsh mythology and culture embedded into the books, and because it's all about fae and things like that. And there was so much in it. And I think her Throne of Glass books, which are another series that are based in a sort of fae world as well, they heavily have a lot of Welsh mythology within it as well. But I think international audiences is a little bit lost on them because they don't understand that, because we don't push it enough to the world, and there's stories out there that have been, the concept of them have been taken and retold in a different way, and people haven't realized that that's the origin of that story.
And it would be great to maybe have some sort of ongoing exhibitions that just champion Welsh art, but not just things that are championing them on our doorstep, because as lovely as it would be to see it here, and it is very important, it'd be lovely if that was also a travelling roadshow sort of style, where we're not just accessing it in the museum in Cardiff, for instance, we're accessing it in other parts of Wales, but we're also accessing it in England, in Scotland, so that people and all over the world, so people know at every part of the world what Wales did on a cultural map from an artistic point of view. I think that'd be really important.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show that we have old stories and things like that are being still used today, because that genre of book, like Sarah J Maas's, is incredibly popular as a genre now. So obviously a lot of people are looking into all different types of mythologies and things like that when it comes to fantasy books. So we are being sort of referenced, not directly as a country, but our mythology is. But I also think that you can see quite up until not too distant history that things, for example, like the first £1 million cheque was signed in Wales.
The coal exchange.
Yeah, and people don't know that. If you were to ask over the world, where was that first cheque signed, they don't even know if Wales would pop into their head as an answer. They would assume somewhere like London or America or Shanghai, because Shanghai, that's where all the banks are, aren't they? Yeah, so they would assume it was somewhere like that, not little old Wales. And we had, I think, one of the most significantly important docks for exchange and for what's the
world
word?
Economics?
Yeah, economics and trade.
Yeah.
That was the word I was looking for. Not a lot of that is known, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be worthwhile having some sort of exhibition that just champions Wales on a
Not
world
even
stage.
an exhibition. I just think it needs to be brought more and more into day-to-day culture. And we need to, why have the BBC, BBC Wales have got their own huge headquarters in Cardiff? Why has a series never been made that is a sort of an anthology series, and each one is a different Welsh legend and tale told, like Mabinogion, I'm saying that right, I think, and all different tales and stories like that. I don't understand why that's never been a thing. It's such an interesting mythology, and we had our own versions of Welsh gods and deities and things like that. All of them had huge stories, exactly like ancient Greece and things like that did. I was just saying to you about Song of Achilles and Circe as books and things like that. Greek mythology does so well in literature, but it also does in film and TV as well. But we've never quite managed to get our own version of that onto the silver screen or onto TV, into households across the world.
Well, we know Nick Andrews. So Nick, if you're watching / listening to this right now at BBC Wales, then there's a commission for you. You should get on with that one.
Yeah, because I genuinely think it would interest people, because obviously BBC have got a huge demographic in America. I think it would be such an interesting thing for them, because it would almost be like, we've heard all of the Greek god tales and all the Greek tragedies, and we've heard all the Roman stories of gods and goddesses and wars and things like that. And this is kind of like that. A lot of our mythology is like that, but with a slight fey, otherworldly twist to it. But I think people would think that it's, where's this come from style thing.
At the same time, though, you can imagine it would probably enhance our tourism as well as enhancing our Welsh pride.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think, I most definitely agree. I think that there's definitely a call for that.
Yeah.
Make it, please, somebody. Thank you so much, Janine and James, both J's.
I know. Janine,
look at that this week.
Janine and James.
Thank you, Jak, Janine and James, for that one. That is our questions for this week. If you have more questions, please send them in theeditwales@gmail.com, or you can do it straight away on Instagram, or you can do it through the website, which is www.theeditwales.com. We will be back very shortly with Jak's art history of the week.
So the first recorded music festival was in 1176, and it wasn't where you think it would be.
Okay, 1176, that's a while back.
Yeah. So when you think of music festivals, you probably picture things like Glastonbury, Coachella, Woodstock, huge crowds, muddy fields, and headline acts.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah? But what if I told you one of the earliest recorded music festivals happened almost 850 years ago in 1176 in Cardigan Castle in Wales?
In Cardigan Castle?
Indeed. There's a bit of Welsh history for you.
Oh, so we were what? So Wales was the first to have a music festival?
Apparently so.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
tell me more.
So it was called, it wasn't called a music festival in the traditional sense. It was known as the Eisteddfod.
Okay.
A celebration of poetry, music, and storytelling that would go on to become one of Wales's most enduring cultural traditions, because we still obviously have the Eisteddfod today, don't we? And it's a huge thing for people to be included in the Eisteddfod.
I didn't know it was the first, though.
Indeed. So the event was organised by Lord Rhys.
Right.
One of the
Any
most...
relation?
No relation. Okay. Same spelling, but no relation. One of the most powerful... I've gone back into the script without saying to people, my middle name is Rhys.
Yes, yeah, just for context.
Yeah. But yeah, he was Lord Rhys was one of the most powerful Welsh princes of the 12th century. And after strengthening his rule over much of the southwest of Wales, he decided to celebrate in a rather unusual way.
Okay.
Not with a military tournament, but with an artistic competition, which, goes to speak on when our question asker Janine was saying about Welsh art history. It really has always been quite instilled in Wales culturally to link our art and our culture.
Yeah.
So he invited poets and musicians from across Wales and even beyond to compete before an audience at Cardigan Castle. These performers battled it out in categories celebrating the spoken word and music, with judges deciding the winners.
Right, okay.
And the prize, this is the interesting bit, it wasn't cash, cold hard cash.
Right.
It wasn't medals that they got to stand on a podium.
Gold?
It wasn't gold either.
Oh,
and it
did they
wasn't
win
a
the
little
castle?
stuffed dragon they got to take with them either.
Oh.
But it was a beautifully carved chair made from oak, which still,
Yes.
it sounds a little odd maybe to people who aren't from Wales, who've never heard of the Eisteddfod. But the chairs symbolised honour, wisdom and artistic mastery, because these were hand-carved chairs by incredibly talented wood carvers. So, in fact,
Better
tradition.
than Hannigan gift shop.
Exactly. But like traditionally, it still is a surviving practice that we do today. The current Eisteddfod still have that same hand-carved chair.
Yeah.
The modern national Eisteddfod winners are still ceremonially chaired with
Yes,
an intricately
of course,
carved
yeah.
seat that is created specifically for that event. So it is quite a prestigious thing that is still going on. But to me, anyway, what I think is remarkable when I was looking into this with a little bit more detail is that it wasn't simply entertainment. In medieval Wales, poets and musicians held incredibly important roles in the community. And they preserved history, they celebrated rulers, they passed down genealogy, and they kept cultural identity alive through performances.
Well, this is the thing. I suppose back in 1170 odd, I'd imagine literacy was not the probably the dominant force in Wales. So how else are you going to get the history and messages across to people other than through spoken word?
Exactly.
So that's brilliant. I love that.
And then it was a generational thing that could keep being passed down and passed down. But winning the Eisteddfod wasn't about being talented. It was about earning a lasting prestige. So it was very much culturally significant to win the awards there. And in 1176, gathering is often recognised as the first recorded Eisteddfod. And it was one of the earliest documented competitive festivals dedicated to music and poetry throughout Europe. So it's quite a significant thing, really, that it sort of started here. The sort of idea of bringing people together in a field, for example, and listening to music and poetry was an idea of a Welsh king or prince. He was a prince, wasn't he? But for me, anyways, today's festivals, they hand out platinum records and sell out stadiums, and the original prize was something much simpler, a handcrafted oak chair, and the respect of your peers, which I think to a lot of artists is probably what we're all looking for, is the respect of our peers and the acknowledgement from our peers that what we are doing is well and it is quite revered. But it's a reminder that for centuries, art wasn't just decoration or entertainment. It was how communities remembered who they are, celebrated excellence, and preserved culture for future generations. So it's quite interesting.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known about the Eisteddfod, but I didn't realise that it was the first of its kind ever. I mean, when because we're Welsh, we take it for granted that the Eisteddfod's a thing, forgetting that there's a huge plethora of history behind it and that it was the first of its kind. Can you imagine that?
I know. But it just goes to show the next time you hear the word festival, remember that nearly, 850 years ago, artists were already gathering in Wales to compete, perform and inspire, long before anyone dreamed of festival wristbands, rain ponchos and headline acts.
Wow. Well, that was one. I didn't know the intricacies of that, most certainly. No, that's really good. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. There will be an article out on the Edit Wales that'll be at the same time the podcast comes out that goes a little bit more in detail, because obviously we can only fit so much into the podcast or we would be babbling for hours.
Way, thank you very much.
Yes.
Speaking of babbling for hours, we're going to be doing that over the next week or so. What have we got coming up this week?
So we've got a exhibition by Tess Powell at Unstable Arts on Friday.
Yes, we're going to nip in really quickly before it officially opens on Saturday.
We are indeed.
We're going to go and have a look at that, and it does look actually really interesting.
I'm quite excited for that one. We went to the open day that they had with as part of the Roth Gallery route thing, and it was nice. It was nice to see all of the artists together, but I'm excited to see how they use that space as a solo exhibition space, because it is quite an evolving space in Stable Arts, isn't it?
And it's a relatively new concept for that area as well, so it's quite nice to see. But yeah, very happy to support that, and I'm quite glad that we're going there.
Yeah, you're back on Native Radio Saturday mornings.
I am indeed. Yes.
Why the break?
Because we had Cadstock, we had TEDx, we had Barry Pride, we had so many things all going on consecutively, one after the other. So I think in total, I've not been on the radio for 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I know, so I'll be back this Saturday, so that's going to be fun.
Exciting. And then I've got quite a busy week coming up of theatre.
No, we're not talking about this. Sorry, we can cut this right here because I'm not involved in any of these. I've basically I am no longer the +1 for any of these events. What's going on?
Well,
Go
one
on.
of them you didn't want to go to.
Go on.
So on Monday, I'm in the WMC watching The Bodyguard, which
Yeah.
I'm really excited about because I am a big Whitney Houston fan.
Yes, but it's not Whitney Houston to start off with. And also, I'm happy that I'm not going to that because it's an unpopular opinion, but I can't stand Whitney Houston. No.
I really liked her. I thought she was an incredibly talented artist. And The Bodyguard I liked it as a film, but me and my sister are going to go to that one and see that. I think
Yes.
my sister's going to come with me anyway. Because then on Tuesday night, I am in the New Theatre watching High Society, and my mum is the plus one to that.
Yes, I know. And I only found that out yesterday. Or the
No,
day
you
before.
didn't only find that out yesterday.
Yeah,
you found that out
whatever.
weeks ago when it first got advertised, and I'd seen that the actress in it plays Trixie in Call the Midwife, and that is my mum's all-time favourite show. And I saw that she was in it, and I was like, my mum's going to want to come with me to see that.
Yes, so you probably told me that I'm not going to it at 3:00 in the morning when I was asleep.
Best way to get my way.
But yeah, so I'm not going to either of those this week. So, I mean, I'll just read the review.
And then also as well, you can read those reviews, they'll be up. Really randomly as well, we are going to the opening of Hollywood Bowl in town.
Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. I'm quite excited to go to that because there's not that many places to go now in town to go and do something recreational that doesn't include alcohol.
Oh, I was just going to say that. Yeah, definitely. It's quite nice. And
Neither of us are big drinkers, so I think it is quite nice to be able to go to a place like that. Yeah, I have seen it. So it's where Red Hot Buffet used to be. So if you come in on the ground floor out of St David's 1 and you have to sort of go outside, don't you, to go into St David's 2. Before you go into St David's 2, turn left and go down towards Mill is it Mill Lane?
Barrack Lane.
Barrack Lane. If you go to left as if you're going towards Barrack Lane, and it'll just be there on the side.
Yeah.
Big building's got go-karting, bowling.
Yeah. Now, I'd love to know how they've shoehorned all this in. So there's
It's a huge building.
but 20 lanes of bowling and a go-karting track. I mean, that's huge to put in there.
But it was a huge building, if you remember, when it was Red Hot Buffet. It was multiple floors and...
But enough to drive around? I mean, I'm interested.
I don't know. I might not do the go-karting. I'm not great at it.
You're going to do
I
the
might
go-karting.
not. I might just be the camera person.
I've got the little DJI thing, and I'm going to, like, magnetically stick it to something, and we're going to be going around on a track. And I'm going to aim for you because I've not got tickets to either of these things this week.
Well, you can aim for me if you want. I'll just get out.
Anything else we're doing in the coming week?
At the moment, no. We're going to try and go back and see... Oh, no, actually, this Saturday, we're going to, if it's still there, we're going to head into town and we're going to go and see Ian Watkins' exhibition.
H from Steps.
Yes, we're going to see his exhibition that's in a contemporary art gallery in town on the Hayes.
Okay.
I wanted to try and get to see that sooner, but I just haven't had the time to. So I hope it is still there by Saturday.
Yes.
I haven't checked the dates that it's on.
Oh, and straight after, which is what I remember, we're going to Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah.
Straight after Hollywood Bowl, we're going to Cardiff Theatre Cafe, which is recently reopened.
Oh, yeah.
And we're gonna
They're
go and
back
see-
open finally after
Yeah.
all the issues that they've had with the roof and the building and things
I
like
know.
that. They are back open. I saw online that, because obviously we know Wayne and Nathan well, they're good friends of ours. I'd seen on Facebook that they had their National Lottery funding in for their toilets. And now I remember before they closed down, they always said, we're trying to get funding, or we're trying to find a way to raise funds to have the toilets redone so that they're more accessible and they're nicer inside to use, and they got that through. So they're opening for the first time in, how long have they been shut?
I want to say September, October last year.
So they opening for the first time since then, and they also have their brand new toilets. I'm really happy for them. That is sort of everything they wanted with that building. And I know it's one of those buildings, they're both such like talented, creative people that they will constantly be tweaking and ever evolving that building.
Yeah.
But it just feels like everything will just be just right for them when they come back.
Yeah, and we're going to be there because there's a Madonna tribute, or I think it's a Madonna party. I can't remember exactly now, but it doesn't matter. We just go in there to support them and have a great time at the same time. So yeah, that's going to be, we're doing Hollywood Bowl on the Friday evening.
But we're
and
doing
then-
Tess Powell's exhibition.
Oh yeah, we are.
Hollywood Bowl, Theatre Cafe.
Madonna. Oh, it's going to be fun. That's going to be a messy one.
Yes.
Don't come and talk to me on Saturday morning. Oh, I'm on the radio Saturday morning. Oh, God, that's going to be fun. And that's live.
What was I
as
say
well.
about you always overcommitting?
I know. Nothing like a bit of
And you
overcommitting.
overcommit me.
Well, I'm not doing anything on Monday and Tuesday, so I think I'll be fine. Anyway, we'll leave that where it is. If you liked this podcast, please like, share it. I have no idea where I'm going with this. If you love this podcast, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. If you're an artist, please tell everybody who's also an artist, because this information is here for you. That's why we do this every single week. We will be back with much more Pain in the Arts this time next week, wherever you get podcasts. Have a great week.